Welcome, everybody, to the first episode ever of Sketchy Ideas, the live point-counterpoint video podcast where we illustrate, debate concepts surrounding leadership, business, and personal achievement in a way that may make you think twice before you implement that new idea or agree that we are good artists. Hi, I'm Brad James. I'm with Cream City Marketing, and I'm with Michael Rampolla.
Hi, Michael Rampolla, Spirity. Nice to see you.
We are your hosts, and in today's first episode of Sketchy Ideas, Michael is going to illustrate and explain the use of SMART goals, a useful technique in being able to achieve your vision for the future, but only sometimes. With that, thanks for kicking us off today, Michael.
Thanks, Brad. I like your only sometimes. You're putting me to the test right away. I appreciate that. I'm going to say almost all the time, and I know you're going to come back at me with that, which I'm fine with. I appreciate that's the point, right? So SMART goals, you've probably heard the term before. We're going to just first, define the terms as they say. So SMART is an acronym like all good things in this world. Let's define what the parts of a SMART goal are. S stands for specific. M is measurable. A is achievable. R is resourced. Now that might be different than what you're familiar with, so we'll come back to that. And T is timely or time-bound. Now, most people who are familiar with SMART goals, well, the acronym kind of leads you to it, are going to build a SMART goal from the top to the bottom. So let's at least run through it that way. Specific means you know what you're doing. It's clear what it is you're trying to accomplish. So if it's specific, then anybody else reading the goal should know what it is that we're talking about here. M means measurable. It means it has a number, a percent, or some other sense of when completion has happened. And that one's really key. A is achievable. We say achievable is your best guess. Right? You're not going to know for sure until you attempt the goal and get close to its conclusion that it is really achievable or not. So achievable is your best guess based on what you know. R is resourced. Any goal needs something. You need some sense of either materials or time or money or people to accomplish the goal. So R, the resource, means that you have evaluated what it is that you need to accomplish the goal. And T, time bound. It has a deadline. It has a date that we're targeting to get the thing done. So that's the basics of a SMART goal. A good goal, a good SMART goal, has each of those 5 elements in it. And if any of those things is missing, it's not a SMART goal. It could be a goal, but it's not SMART. When a goal is SMART, it's much more likely to be achieved, which is why it's important to build a goal as a SMART goal, not just have a goal. That's the basics.
Can you give us an example of how you would build a SMART goal so
Absolutely.
Our audience can understand?
That's a great question. I'm going to do a little bit, again, counterintuitively. You would think that I would start at the top, go from specific down to time bound, but I'm actually going to do it backwards. Because if you're setting a goal, more often than not, your deadline has already been established for you. Whether just by the calendar dates, I need to get all my Christmas gifts purchased by, well, for me it's Christmas Eve, but for you it might be December 22nd. You have a time bound. The deadline is almost always there already. So we're actually going to build it in reverse. We're going to start at the deadline. When we're doing goal setting, specifically with business owners, we operate on the quarter. So what that means is this deadline is already going, just arbitrarily, let's set goals for next quarter. Let's see, that's September. No, yep. So 30 days has September. So September 30th. So by September 30th, 2020, I have something I want to get done. Deadline is established. Resourced. What do I have available to me? What kind of funding do I have? What kind of manpower do I have? What kind of runway do I have, which is our deadline? Achievable, this is the best guess. So we'll come back to achievable. There's about 3 or 4 boxes we want to check to make sure something is achievable. We'll come back to those in a second. Measurable, this is the number. This is the number you want to increase. This is the number, the percent, might be a dollar sign. So let's say for me, my area of focus is revenue. And let's, for nice round numbers, let's just say 100,000. So $100,000 in revenue. Specific, so this is like goals by Mad Lib. This is where the verb comes in. Action word. For me, I'm going to achieve. I'm going to achieve $100,000 in revenue. I've got measurable because it meets one of these three criteria by September 30th, 2020. Now it's achievable if I have enough time, if I've given myself enough time to meet that goal. It's achievable if I have enough people to achieve that goal. In this case, it might be a sales force. It's achievable if it's not in conflict. So conflict is like, I might have other goals that I need to accomplish, and I'm going to check my other goals to make sure that this goal is not going to prevent me from getting another goal accomplished. So enough time, enough people, it's not in conflict. And then the last part is just, this is your best guess, which is really based on history. So if I look backwards in time, is that number reasonable, achievable, realistic, based on my history? The other way to do this would just be say, oh, I want to make $1 million this year. Okay, well, we don't know enough to know whether or not that's really achievable until we start operating from backwards to forward. So there's a little bit of Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind in this, and also a little bit of fourth grade Mad Lib. So I think a good SMART goal is somewhere in between those two ideas.
So easy a fourth grader could do it.
I like to think so. I think fourth graders are probably going to be better at this than we are because they're not going to think too hard about it. And when you overthink your goals, sometimes you get stuck.
So when should I be pondering or thinking about these types of goals so that we can actually develop them the way that you're talking about them?
Great question. I would say the short answer is in advance. And here's what I mean by that. In order for me to get going on this goal, this Q3 goal, I should be looking at that at least a few weeks out before I'm actually going to get started on it. Because we haven't gotten into the whole planning part of this yet. But a goal and a plan work together, but they're not the same thing. Once I've established the goal, the plan would come thereafter. But if I'm going to get started on something, I need to get that goal set in advance. It can be as simple as, another example I like to use for goal setting. Let's say I'm going to be driving somewhere. I'm not just going to jump in the car and start driving. I have no idea where I'm going, right? I can say I want to take a drive only if my destination is literally to eventually end up back home again. Can I get in the car and just start driving without having my destination in mind? So a goal is your destination. If you're going to get started on this next time period, and you start without a destination in mind, any effort you're taking may or may not be wasted. And if you like wasting effort, then that's a great approach. If you don't like wasting effort, having a goal and a destination in mind before you start driving is a much better approach.
Okay. So as we're thinking about every time we're setting a goal, are you always going to go through this process if you're doing a SMART goal, or is that just a goal, right? Destination is where I'm going, but is that necessarily a SMART goal, or is that a different type of goal?
Great. If I add just a couple small elements to that, then it becomes SMART. So let me just take this destination idea. Let's say I need to get to work. Okay. I need to get to work by a certain time because I know when my first meeting is. And most of us think this way when we're not thinking about goal setting. We're just thinking about life, right? Okay. I have a meeting at this location at this time. Okay. Therefore, I need to arrive at said destination by this time. 1, 2, 3, I've got my SMART goal. Is that achievable? Well, I don't know. Let's find out what time it is right now. If it takes me 45 minutes to get to work and there's an hour until that meeting, I can arrive on time, assuming that I've taken, what's my past history say? Well, my past history says if I leave right now, I can do it in 45 minutes. And I leave 5 minutes from now, it'll take me an hour. If you know traffic, right, that's the thing. How much time do I have? Is it in conflict with my other goals? Well, I still need to eat breakfast. So if I still need to eat breakfast, that's a goal I have. I also need to get to this meeting on time. I probably need to pull a trade-off in here somewhere. So that's where the negotiation happens right there. What's that?
So you can only hit one goal at a time is what you're saying.
Not necessarily. I just need to make sure that I understand what the conflicts are, and I call it negotiation. So whether or not something is achievable ultimately becomes sometimes a mental negotiation. For example, between those two examples, arriving to the meeting on time and eating breakfast, depending on the meeting probably wins. It's the higher priority goal. So the nature of my second goal, I need to now negotiate. Well, I'm not going to be able to cook eggs, but I can probably grab a granola bar. Okay. I get most important priority achieved. I get my other needs taken care of. I've eliminated the conflict, and I've saved that 5 minutes. It's going to turn my 45-minute commute into an hour. So achievable, making a SMART goal achievable is often a matter of negotiation, sometimes with your own internal resources and sometimes with others.
Okay. When do SMART goals not work, right? How often I know with SMART goals supposed to define our destination, and the destination equals success.
Yep.
But when do those not work?
When you don't know where you're going, when you don't have a clear understanding of what success looks like. So sometimes there's a step needed before SMART goal setting, which is defining what success looks like. Defining success often ends up creating a SMART goal as an outcome. But if I don't know where I need to be and when, I don't know what success looks like, then I can literally just get in my car and start driving, and I don't really need a goal. But if I have something important to accomplish, and most of us do, that's when SMART goal setting is valuable, because SMART goal setting, especially if you do more than one, this negotiation piece, this is where I start to build out more of like a whole strategy matrix, if you will. I'm just going to use this as an example. So let's say I have actually 4 goals I want to achieve. These are my goals across the top. This is the sum total of what I can get done. And I need to make sure that those 4 goals can all get accomplished. And that's where I need to start negotiating. You can't do it all. So it's important when you're negotiation goal setting, so to speak, to also establish priorities. And in our organization, we talk about goal number 1, your highest priority goal, in very specific terms. We actually call it your spearhead. So Spearity is our company. Spearhead is your number 1 priority goal for the given time frame. And here's how you know it's your spearhead. If you get that goal accomplished, nothing else matters. And if you don't get that goal accomplished, nothing else matters.
Gotcha.
When you know what that
Why
priority
wouldn't you just focus on that one goal? Why wouldn't you not just focus on that one spearhead?
Well, you do need to focus on that one, and you can't leave everything else to chance. At the same time, getting that one accomplished often sorts everything else out. If you're a business owner, it's revenue. If you have sales, if you have revenue, you have money coming in the door, most of the other stuff you can figure out. As an individual, typically true. If you have a paycheck coming in, if you have income and revenue, a lot of the other things can get sorted out. So for those of you who are in charge of a business, a household, a insert scope of effort here, figure out what the spearhead is for that. And then you'll know if I get that one thing done, everything else will I can figure it all out, or it'll take care of itself. You've found your number 1 priority.
Gotcha. Okay. Share with us, we're what? It's June 24th today. You're talking about Q3 goals.
Yep.
Those of you out there, you got 6 days. You got 6 days. You're just figuring this out. Is it realistic for them to actually set a SMART goal for their 3rd quarter right now, depending on what it is?
Great question. First answer is yes, absolutely. And the second answer is yes, absolutely. Here's why. Because if you just put some time and focus attention to it, and you use just this Mad Lib method, you can do it. That's the goal setting. The planning might take a little more time, but the planning should be a function of the goal setting. When we do goal setting with the people that we support, it takes a couple hours at most. And that's for when you're in charge of a whole organization. Those are people who've also had some practice. Your first time, it might take you a full couple hours. It might take you a half a day to set really good goals. But what that implies is that you're also doing some research to understand, especially, what's my history tell me? Do some of that negotiations so that all the goals fit together. What are the resources I have on hand, of and including financial resources? Got to include money in here if we're going to do constraints, right? What investment can I make to achieve my goal? So if you're going to do goal setting, it's going to take a little bit of time, but let me also tell you this. We always share this as well. The first time you do this, it's not going to be very good. Let's be honest. You haven't done goal setting before. The first time you set goals, you're not going to be right. And that's okay. Because unless you can predict the future, and if you can predict the future, I want to talk to you offline. Unless you can predict the future, goal setting is an exercise in prediction, right? Unless you had a magic crystal ball and especially this time frame, you didn't know what this last quarter was going to look like economically, socially, et cetera. The goals that you set were probably really important when you set them. If you did it like we do it at the end of March, you're setting goals for Q2. Those goals were important priority goals. The plans to get there probably changed along the way because some unforeseen circumstances came up, right? So that's where it's important to separate goal setting from planning. And that's another mistake of goal setting that I'll talk about here in a second.
Okay. Why don't you just talk
about it? Want me to do it right now? Here we go. All right.
Setting and planning. Let's just dive right in.
Let's go into planning. No, you're right. Because here's the thing that I often see. So goals are not plans. Goals do not equal plans. When your plans cross over into your goals is when oftentimes this is where people who don't like goal setting, and I know who you are, people who don't like goal setting are people who mix up their plans with their goals. Give me an example. Weight loss is a good one. So my goal is to be more healthy. Well, first of all, that's not a goal. Brad, quiz question. What's wrong with that goal? Why is that not smart? Be more healthy.
Say it one more time. Say it one more time.
My goal is to be more healthy this year.
There's no time. It's not specific. You're not defining health. You're not talking about any resources of getting there. You can't measure it.
There it is. That's the key thing right there. It's not a goal if it can't be measured. This is the number one indicator of whether or not it's a SMART goal, is whether or not there's a measurement. And it's an objective. I should put it's an objective measurement. What does objective mean? Somebody besides me can tell me whether or not I met my goal. I feel better. The only person in the world who can tell me whether or not that's true is me. And if I'm like most humans, I'm going to feel better if I'm asking myself if I feel better because I want to achieve my goal. It doesn't work for measurement. So if it's an objective measurement, you're on the right track. So let me take healthy. Let me turn into weight loss. I want to lose 10 pounds by December 31st of this year. Okay, I'm getting there. I've got a goal. Here's where the trip up happens. I want to lose 10 pounds by the end of this year by working out more and eating better and eating less calories. Those second two things are plans. They are ways to achieve the goal, but they are not the goal themselves. When the mistake happens is if I say my goal is to lose weight by the end of this year by working out more and consuming less calories and eliminating fat from my diet, just go all in, right? Oh, my workout by walking 3 times a week and biking twice. That's my goal. The problem is those are actually plans. And because I think they're my goal, as soon as something happens, I can't work out anymore. I eat some fat. Oops, by mistake. I toss the whole goal. Oh, I'll never achieve my goal because I already broke the rule. I already sabotaged my goal. No, you didn't. You just had a blip in your plans. The plans are not the goal. The plans need to change on a regular basis to achieve the goal because a goal is an exercise in prediction. So because you can't predict the future, your plans need to be flexible while the goalpost stays fixed.
So if we look at it from a hierarchy standpoint, goal is destination, for example, going back to your GPS analogy.
Yep.
But if I need to get across town, there's probably 100 different ways to get across town.
Great example.
It's just a matter of which roads I'm going to take, where I'm going to take a right turn. All of a sudden I hit road construction and I have to go around it, right?
Every time you're rerouting, you're adjusting your plans, right?
Right.
Around here, I live pretty far west of the city. There are a dozen different ways for me to get east and west between Milwaukee and Oconomowoc. And I'll tell you, 90% of those are usually shut down or closed down to construction. So I always have to have alternate routes. That's just the nature of the business. So therefore, I always need alternate plans because my goal doesn't change. I still need to get where I'm trying to get by a certain time. And I need to work backwards from there and know all my options and constantly be making adjustments. And life is the same way, right? I might hit a patch of open space and make up some time. That's a win, right? Same thing happens with goal setting. I might suddenly discover an unexpected piece of revenue. I might have a great week and holy cow, I jumped ahead in my weight loss goals. Awesome. Adjust your plans accordingly. Hold the goal.
Gotcha. All right. So we probably got a bunch of people on here who have never, ever heard of SMART goals, right?
Awesome.
They've never, ever gone through this exercise. How do I get started? What is the first thing I need to do in order to make sure that the first time I go through this, I don't feel like I've totally failed at it and I actually was able to work at it and I'm going to try it again?
Great question. Let's do that. So the question I would ask you is, what do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to get done in the next, let's just do 90 days. Your brain is really good at thinking in 3 time frames. 90 days or a quarter, 3-month time frame is good. Your brain is good at a week and your brain is good at a day. I'm going to advise you don't set monthly based goals because months are weird. They have different numbers of days. They start and end on different days of the week. It's really hard to set goals on a month, even though we think that sounds like a good idea. So 90 days, 1 week, 1 day. So think about the next 90 days from July 1st to September 30th. What do you want to do, get done, accomplish? Just make a list and don't filter that list. Just do a little mini mental brainstorm. What are all the things you want to get done in the next 90 days? Start with that. When you have 5, 6, 8 ideas, give yourself a few minutes to do that. Then you want to start prioritizing. The easier way to prioritize is to start to take stuff off the bottom. So if you've got 8, remove 2. Okay, now remove another 2. Now remove another 1 and a 1 until you get to the most important thing. And remember, what I'm saying along the way is you've got 8 things you want to get done. Great. I'm going to tell you right now. Let's say you can only get 6. Which 2 are you going to leave behind? Okay, so you get down to 6. Okay, now you've got 6. I'm going to tell you, you can really only get done 4, which by the way is a good number. So 4, okay, good. Now I'm going to say something's going to happen. You don't know what it is, but it's going to happen. You're going to have to drop one of these, get down to 3, and keep going like that. Keep thinking something might come up where I have to leave behind one of these goals. I have to give it up. Which one am I going to give up? And if you think of it that way, about sacrifices and commitments, what you'll end up with is that spearhead, that number 1, if I get nothing else done in the next 90 days, this is the most important thing. My life, my world, my work, my home will be different if I don't get this thing done in the next 90 days. You're on your spearhead. Now, Mad Lib it. That spearhead is about a thing. It's about a concept. It's about money, health, wellness, family, whatever it's about. Work backwards. You've got your deadline. You've got your area of focus. Establish what good looks like as a measurement and throw a verb on it. Increase, decrease, achieve are pretty easy ones to work with. Those are relatively universal. So that's a quick and dirty process.
All righty. So we've only got a couple minutes left. So
okay,
if you had one last thing that you wanted to leave everybody watching with, what would that one thing be when it comes to SMART goals?
As I said, SMART goals are an exercise in negotiation. They're also an exercise in improvement. What that means is the first time you do this, they're not going to be great. That's okay. The trick is to do it, do something, do some sort of SMART goal set. When you set your SMART goals for the first time, understand that the goal stays fixed, the plans are going to adjust. If you set goals well, you set goals at a time when things were good and we were aspirational. Perfect. And you've also done that slicing and dicing where you got down to the highest priority goals. That means that they're critically important to you and your success. Don't give up on the goal because the plan goes sideways. Constantly improve and adjust and iterate. And when you get done at the end of the quarter, look back and see what worked and what didn't work and set goals again. Take all the things that you learned and go again. It'll take you about 2 or 3 times through a round of goal setting and attempting those goals to get the hang of goal setting. So it might take you 6 months to 9 months to get this right. That sounds like a long time. I get that. If these are critically important goals to you, it's a worthwhile use of your time. And it's a whole lot better than guessing for 90 days. If you're feeling like, I really don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing on any given day, week, or quarter, some simple goal setting is a great way to help you prioritize and achieve that thing that is not a real thing, but what we all call time management. Time management is really priority management. Goal setting is how to set your priorities.
In other words, goal setting is an exercise just like any other exercise, weightlifting, running, jogging, etc. So
it takes
you actually
practice
have
and time to get it right. It's a goal set?
Goal setting.
It's very meta. It's very meta. You're right.
Look at that. All righty. Well, so you shared with us all of this stuff about SMART goals and why they're important, how to set them, how they work. It's a muscle. You got to use it. You got to practice it. You got to work it just like anything else. That's your shot. If people have comments or questions, drop them in the comments here below.
Yeah,
otherwise, you can email your questions for us, because here's what's going to happen. This is how this works. In next week's episode, I'm going to tell you about when not to use SMART goals and goal setting. And I'm going to talk about doing and being agile in doing to understand where you need to go. Okay. Then the following week, based on the questions you all submit, we're going to be debating when it works, when it doesn't work. So you guys actually get some real examples and some application about which path is the best way to get things done and get moving. And so until then, drop your comments in here, message us. Otherwise, email us at sketchyideas@ccmediagroup.co so we can have them ready to debate in week 3. And just plan on tuning in next week, same time, same place, and watch how I kind of blow up this whole SMART goals thing with a whole different way of being agile and getting things done. All right. Without having to set goals and go through the planning process and figure this whole Mad Lib thing out, because I don't have time to sit and write it down. Right. We only have 24 hours in the day. So until then, thanks. And thanks again for coming and listening to our first ever Sketchy Ideas live video podcast, where we're going to illustrate and debate all of these types of concepts. This is just the first mini series. We're going to have other guests on here talking about everything from sales, business, leadership, personal achievement, gratitude, all of that stuff in the next year. We're going to be here almost every week for you. Until then, thanks, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Take care, everybody. Thanks.